Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu and I'm back with another Digimon video. So today I'm going to be going over my BT15 pre-release guide. So this is a good video for you to look at in order to be as prepared for your BT15 pre-release event as best as you possibly can. And the set is slated to come out on February 16th of 2024. So when it comes to the pre-releases, usually we get a couple of extra goodies to incentivize playing in this pre-release. So this time around, we get the long-awaited Ritsu Kodo promo card, on top of the fact that, like all pre-releases, we're also going to be getting a pre-release pack for BT15, which will contain 2 cards in it. It's going to be stamped and foil for both of those cards. One of them is going to be any uncommon in the set, and one of them is going to be any rare in the set. I'm expecting with the pre-release packs that it's just going to be of BT15 cards, but LM01 cards might show up as well. As far as what you're getting for winning, it's going to be a nice alt art version of BT10 Shoutmon, and stores might even offer additional pricing based purely on, well, how the store wants to actually run the event. So the thing to keep in mind is the fact that a pre-release is going to be a limited or sealed format. So when it comes to limited and sealed events, that just means you're going to walk into the store, get a couple of packs, 6 more specific for Digimon, and then you're going to be building a deck purely out of the packs that you get, evening the playing field in terms of the card pool available to everyone. So when it comes to building your deck is going to consist of 40 cards, and your egg deck is going to be anywhere from 0 to 5 cards. So there are a couple of additional special rules to try to flesh out the sealed environment to make it as playable as possible, because Digimon isn't really designed in order to accommodate sealed, but we have some rules that make it better. So those rules are going to be that players can ignore Digivolution color requirements, but still must meet level and cost requirements when it comes to digivolving your cards. So that way we have basically this rainbow evolution to make Digivolution even easier. Then colors also can be ignored for DNA Digivolution and special Digivolutions. Then color still matters for effects. Then when it comes to options, you're also still needing to meet the color requirements in order to utilize the option card. The last additional rule to keep in mind is the fact that during the breeding or raising phase, players can choose to raise a level 3 Digimon if you don't have an egg in your breeding area, trying to make your breeding area as playable as possible, just in case you don't have a full egg deck. So you have to keep in mind that you do not draw for doing this, but it's nice at the fact that we have an extra way to be able to make our breeding or raising area as playable as possible. Then when looking at the set, you should focus on the rares and below, but ultimately what you pull is going to determine what you're going to end up playing with. So when it comes to a normal booster box, the pull rates that we know of for the high rarity cards are going to be an average of 7 SRs per box and 2 hits, a hit being either a secret rare or an alt art. So this means that you will likely not see a lot of secret rares and SRs when it comes to what you're hoping to pull on and what you're going to be playing with. And you will be seeing more of the other lower rarities. So the rares and below being what you'll see more often than not is what you're going to want to study. So that way you'll be able to know what you're going to want to try to prioritize based on what you already know is going to be good. And when you see a high rarity card in your kit, then you should be surprised and accommodate accordingly. So BT15 is a slightly different set than normal, for better or for worse. Keep in mind this is going to be a larger set because it is fused with LM01. So as far as the set breakdown, when it comes to how many different commons there are in the set, there's 46 commons, the uncommons there's 34, the rares there's 23, the super rares there's 16, the secret rares there's 3, and there's even special cards in the set. that are 8 of them, but you're most likely not going to be seeing the special cards very often. So when it comes to the difference between a normal BT set and BT15, because of LM01, it adds about 20 new cards that wouldn't be there normally. As a result, we could expect pretty bad pull rates when it comes to finding any given card compared to a normal BT set. So when it comes to BT15's expected pull rates, here's my little disclaimer on it. The information that I was able to gather is based on early leaks, but I don't have 100% concrete evidence that this is how the set is actually going to play out. But understanding it for pre-release still can help give you a slight advantage, knowing what, again, you're more likely to see. So with the LM01 cards, specifically for BT15, there isn't a dedicated slot in the pack for those cards, so they're just fused in with the set, and they're just included in the general pull pool, and you're going to see an average of 1 to 3 LM01 cards per pack. The numbers shown are based on perfect averages, which isn't always going to happen because variance is a thing that TCGs generally like to implore. So when it comes to the 8 special cards, they are special crest ace cards, and it seems like there's going to end up being 1 per case, so you're most likely not going to be seeing those cards. Then when it comes to in a case situation, you're still going to be seeing the 8 basis secret rares, but this time around it's going to be split in 3 ways instead of the usual 2 ways. Alt arts are going to be a little bit more random, whereas before you were kind of guaranteed to see 2 alt secret rares. This time you're not guaranteed to see 2 alt secret rares. So secret rares definitely are going to be a lot harder to pull on for any given secret rare that you're looking for. That's kind of going to be the running theme with just how this set is going to play out. But when it comes to, again, that case situation, the average amount of any given SR you're going to see is 5. The average used to be 7 or 8, but this is because instead of 12 SRs that we're used to seeing, there's going to be 16 instead. So in a box, you're still going to see at least 1 of any given rare. There's just going to be less overflow, so you're less likely to see any duplicate rares out of a box. And then the same kind of sentiment is true with the uncommons. You're going to be seeing an average of 2 of any given uncommon, and there used to be a little bit more overflow, but again, because the pool is diluted, you're going to be seeing less overflow. So, with all that set breakdown and information out of the way, we could actually get into some of the deck building tips. So remember, your deck is going to contain 40 cards based on what you're going to be pulling. Your extra cards are going to be your sideboard, so if you want to swap in and out between rounds, then you're able to do so. So as far as a 40 card deck, we do have to accommodate a curve for the deck in order to make sure your deck is going to be as consistent as possible. So what does a good curve for a stack-based deck in this format actually look like? Well, when it comes to your level 2s, you're just going to play with whatever you get. Then when it comes to your level 3s, you're going to want to play an average of 12 of them. When it comes to the level 4s, you're going to want to play an average of 10 of them. When it comes to the level 5s, you're going to want to play an average of 7. When it comes to the level 6s, you're going to want to play an average of 5. And then you're going to have 6 other cards that you're going to want to play with, and other cards can be tamers, options, or just more Digimon. When it comes to the rookies, most of the time you're just going to end up playing with whatever you have in case you don't have enough. And then you're going to have to subsidize the rest of the ratios to be able to flesh out the fact that you're going to be a little bit lower on your rookies. Then when it comes to actual card analysis, there is an acronym that I lifted from Magic the Gathering called BREAD. So cards can fall into more than one of these categories, but this is just helping you understand what a card's role is so you know how to use it and what its purpose is. So B is going to be for bombs. This is going to be your win condition, are cards that have high impact. R is going to be removal. These are going to be cards with abilities to disrupt the opponent and clear out problematic cards. E is going to be evasion. This is going to be your defensive cards and your cards with some built-in protection. Then A is going to be aggro. These are going to be your general offensive cards. And D are going to be duds. These are cards you're going to want to try to stay away from as much as you possibly can. So bombs are usually going to be your high-level Digimon. It's not all the time that your bombs are high-level Digimon, but most of the time this is where they are. Then again, they're cards that are going to have high impact on the game to swing the tide of the game in your favor, if not winning you the game single-handedly. When it comes to removal, this is just the ability to, well, remove problematic cards from the field. This isn't exclusively on options, and Digimon can also have removal abilities too. So Digimon has a lot of ways of dealing with the opponent's cards, like deletion, bouncing back to hand, putting to the bottom of the deck, reducing their DP to 0, and by combat, to just name a few ways that we have to interact with the opponent's field. Evasion is going to be your defensive cards and your defensive mechanics to try to stave off damage as much as we possibly can, like with blocker and security attack minus. But also having protection on your cards is a good way to stop the opponent from getting rid of your cards, so that way you could make your game plan as effective as you possibly can. And these effects are like reboot, evade, barrier, just to make it harder for the opponent to deal with your Digimon. So aggro cards are your cards with generally cheap or efficient stat lines that you're going to want to play, well, more aggressively. These are generally the cards you're going to want to try taking when you don't care about the effects of what the Digimon is doing too much. So if you had to choose between a really bad effect or a card with really good stats, you're usually going to want to try to go with the card with the better stat line to make playing your other cards as efficient as you possibly can, or just playing the initial card as efficient as you possibly can. These also have sometimes their own native effects that you could try to take advantage of to try to help incentivize you for playing aggressively and reward you for doing so with various on-play and on-delete effects, and ways that they protect themselves or you is just an extra bonus. So duds, as I already mentioned before, are the cards that you're generally going to want to try to stay away from as best as you possibly can. So these are cards where their abilities are not very useful or effective enough to warrant play, or they're just cards with straight up really bad stat lines that just make them not worth playing. So these are pretty easily identifiable most of the time when it comes to their abilities, because their abilities might be asking for cards that aren't even in the set. Then when it comes to some of the other card types, we do have some Digitamas. This time around, 4 of the 6 Digitamas are actually pretty decent, having some pretty good generic abilities. Then when it comes to the Tamers, the Tamers are going to be important based on how your pool shapes up. They're not exactly mandatory by any stretch of the word this time around, but they do have some pretty good unique abilities that we could try to take advantage of. Then some Tamers do have specific synergies they want to try to work with, while others are going to be more on the generic side, and there is going to be some that are in between when you only can use part of the ability, so you're going to have to weigh what the ability is doing and how effectively you can utilize it in order for you to warrant if they're going to be good in your deck or not. Then with this set specifically, this set does technically have a little bit more Ace Digimon than BT14 did. So you're going to want to be on the lookout for Ace Digimon. Even though all of the Ace Digimon are on the higher rarity, you're still going to want to try to play around them, because if you accidentally fall victim to them, then they could easily swing the tide of the game in the controller of the Ace Digimon's favor. The set also has some good defensive tools, so expect some slightly slower games. So you're going to want to make sure that you're not only able to use them and try to take advantage of them yourself, but be aware of them, so that way you know how to play around them as well. So there are not too many hardcore aggro tools, so in this set you're going to want to try to play more towards that value game. And then the last piece of advice with the set specifically is be on the lookout for trait-based synergies that can happen across different colors, so that way you could try to make as many abilities useful as you possibly can, giving you that slight extra advantage. And then when it comes to just some more general meta tips on how pre-releases tend to play out, well, there's 2 main approaches that pre-releases tend to play towards. The first is either more towards a rookie rush and aggressive playstyle, and the second is going to be more stack or value and tempo based. So when it comes to a Rookie Rush style meta, this is basically referring to trying to play as many Digimon as quickly as you possibly can, and try to play them for as cheap as you possibly can, trying to swarm and overtake the opponent. This meta is only viable if there is an actual lack of blockers and defensive tools in the set. This meta is not a Rookie Rush meta, so it is going to be more of the latter, where you're going to want to build towards stack-based decks and try to gain as much tempo and value as you possibly can out of your cards. And then just some even more general tips to kind of round things out is, well, just general advice on how you want to go into a pre-release. So you're going to want to make sure you're adequately supplied with water, snacks, and, well, TCG supplies being playmat, sleeves, dice, and whatever. You're going to want to try to be as relaxed as you possibly can, because the whole point of this event is just to have fun and explore the new set with a whole bunch of other people. And then there's just a couple of important questions to think about when you're going to be building your deck, like what does your card pool look like, what's your win con going to end up being, what synergies and strategies are you going to want to try to take advantage of, and what cards should you just be using in general, which is why the whole BREAD acronym helps you evaluate on what you actually want to try to be playing around with. So thank you everyone for watching, and as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next video.